Good morning, YouTube. Robert from Flyover State of West Virginia. Forgive my camera, y'all. Just don't understand why it does what it does sometimes. Maybe it's helped me. Ooh, that's a little bright, man. Ooh, a little desk lamp, something else. Alright. Oh, that made it worse. Wow. Okay. See me better. Okay, I'll go blind here for a minute. Yeah, okay. Robert Firestone from the Flyover State, West Virginia. 8:49 a.m., 12/6/2019. I don't think the Pfizer report's going to drop tonight. And if it does, it's going to have to be after the circus midgets gets out of the circus, known as the impeachment hearings, the mental midgets. And that's what most of these people have done turned into. I don't know what else to say. Trump, for what I can see and understand, his tree is abundant of fruit, and it's been bearing good fruit. Okay, more so than what most people won't admit. For the ones that actually pay attention, they see and understand. And there's many avenues to travel to pick up, to see the facts, to prove it to your own self. For the ones that want to travel that road, for the ones that don't, they're always going to be stuck in that ditch. So, to say that, to get onto this, it kind of dawned on me here that Trump is draining the swamp. He's took the gravy train. He's disassembling the tracks. But here's the problem that I can't see, and I guess I'll get it eventually answered. He drains the swamp, gets our government down to, say, 25%. What's going to happen in the states? This corruption ties all the way to Washington, D.C. It's like running a nest of roaches out to scare them all over your house so they can create other nests. Well, that's already there. These states, okay? California, Newsom, look at that bullshit. Harvey Dent, been watching him almost limitlessly, forgive my tongue twister there a minute. He's trying to pick up and have to leave California. This man's homeless in a car, okay? Then he has somebody, I find it strange, or there ain't no such thing as coincidence. People make things happen, period, okay? Somebody's decided to sue this man in Sacramento. All of a sudden, as soon as he made that video, it seemed like a day or two later, the video was where he was talking about leaving California, going to, I think, Arizona, okay? I made it through Arizona, Flagstaff, a few little other bigger towns when I was on the road hitchhiking from Florida to California. And Flagstaff, I liked that place. It was pretty neat. There was a lot of real Native Americans, the feather wearing type, not the dot head type or the towel head. What's the old joke? What's the difference between a towel head and a dot head? One's push start, one's pull start. I know you don't like my humor. I ain't a PC person, never claimed to be. And I say things that I probably shouldn't say. But hey, that just makes me, don't it? But anyway, these things that's being created, it's wonderful. And Q had said something back in a later post, I think last year, about the split. There was a percentage, 60-80, something like that. And that made pretty good sense too now. If Trump would go in and just put the ass, okay, and lay the hammer down in the beginning of all this, and just if he had all the proof that he needed, it probably would have took the United States down. Period. The globalists would have won. They'd have won. They'd be winning now, but he didn't do so. So I still find it funny that this rule of law is going to be the thing that's going to take these people down, because they made the laws, they broke the laws, and they never cared about anything about the laws in the first place. It was just there for them to have a say-so or do whatever they wanted to do. They twisted them and turned them to where they worked for them and not nobody else. But here's what I've been trying to tell everybody else. When he gets the swamp drained, the roaches run, other than the ones that probably will be going to jail, looking at treason. A lot of people don't want to believe that's going to go on, but Trump's putting all this money into Gitmo and these other detention centers with the military. First question you got to ask yourself when you want to deny that anything is going to go on, if we've got military prisons gearing up and growing, who are we at war with? Just a thought. But anyway, you got New York, Chicago, that idiot Bloomberg. I call him Bloom Turd. He's trying to parrot what Trump's saying and doing, because he's not smart enough to have a platform for himself. Run around 32-ounce or 64-ounce sodas in New York. That was the problem. Poor people needed money taken away from them, so they'll stay alive. I mean, this is stuff that these people saying. You got Joe Biden on the trail out there that if there was a picture for dumbass in the dictionary, his picture would be there. Some of the shit he's saying. Elizabeth, the most white woman as Indian you ever seen in your life, she's out there screwing up. Nancy Pelosi, she jumped all over her bodyguards. That's what I'd call them. The media that is supposed to uphold and carry her water for her. One of them finally asked a halfway decent ass question. Boy, and she went off. Headboard Harris is out. It ain't gonna be too much longer. A lot of other these people's falling out. Beto O'Rourke, people are now starting to go dig his past up to find out who the hell is this guy. This is what we're going to all have to do, whether anybody likes it or not. We're going to have to end up engaging in our lives in places to where they've scared us from, run us from. You know how you run into certain families. Well, there's two things we don't try not to discuss because it always causes problems, and that's religion and politics. You know why it causes conflicting problems? You know why it causes problems in the family? Because the issue's so fucking big and so relevant, that's why it causes problems. But when you got a system that's been years of dividing us from that piece of life that we should have never dropped, just like I've said before, we should have never stopped asking why, like a 5-year-old, okay? Because when we did, this is what happened, okay? our forefathers, everybody that was eligible, everybody that it didn't matter, because this is what kills me about everybody that wants to mention our forefathers. Okay, y'all can go see this in your own history. Now, don't stop at the mainstream or the system's history. There is another history that's called the true history that is out there that they have kept away from all of our eyes. Okay, these men, 90% of them was just everyday people, just like us. I mean, just the salt of the earth. Most of them didn't really have um, two neurons to rub together when it come to political thought, other than they knew what right was and what wrong was. Common sense. That's what played into a lot of our making of our country. Common sense. These men would go 10, 13 hours a day up there sitting in a chair, and that's what they try to tell us. But most of the time it was in a bar, tavern is what they used to call them. That's the pretty word for bar. Most of them be sitting around in a bar drinking, doing drugs. Sorry, that's the truth. Um, couldn't wait to get home to plow a field, have another child with their wife, take care of their animals, had to build onto their cabin. Everyday salt of the earth, hardworking individuals with uh, to most of them just basic education, because basic education was something that was taught, the three R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. Okay, these three skills was very important, and it still is yet to this day for every one of us. They knew it too. But like I said, these men was not this diploma hanging on the fucking wall type people. There was a few and far between that was more highly educated than the others. Okay, but even the highly educated than the others understood that the only thing they wasn't going to beat or beat down on the ground at the time was called common sense. Okay, that's how they applied 90% of what they done daily was common sense, from the educated to the non-educated. Okay, they understood that was a plus in everyone's life. Okay, to have common sense. Fire burns hot, leaves blisters, burns you to the bone. Okay, you know what to do with it and know what not to do with it, and what it causes when you use it in the wrong way and it gets out of control. Common sense. This is things that we as people, okay, are going to have an understanding. And we've been so disconnected for, let's see, we've been disconnected for so long from the system because the system geared it up to disconnect us, and we allowed it. Okay? We will have to engage with our local localities, corrupt. State localities, corrupt. Okay? The federal, Trump, I believe, is trying to take care of that. Okay? And if we don't engage with what's going on around us, when the government is on its last tire, and it's finally, the common sense woke up and they had to stop the car and find out why that there was this. Okay, the car gets stopped. They walk around. We got three flat tires. We got to do something about it. All right, Trump's doing this apparently. What we can see and have an understanding, and Trump knows who he's playing with when it comes to world leaders. The golden spoon. It's like that little faggot ass Macron. Okay, that man. people could say what they want to say. He got groomed. He got put in a seat of power. I think personally, when all France finally blows up, and it's going to happen, there's going to be a civil war in the EU, whether anybody wants to believe it or not. When it happens, I think Macron ought to be stripped to his underwear and march through the streets, and people just do like the old people used to do. Bombard this fool with food, feces, fecal matter, whatever. Shame the shit out of this little piece of shit. Okay. There needs to be some kind of cause and effect to where if you claiming to be something like he is, and the rest of these so-called EU leaders and all these other world leaders, half of them, there's probably Boris Johnson, Bojo. Um, I still think Nigel Farage would have been a better candidate. They hated Nigel because Nigel was too nails on a chalkboard for these people. So they made sure. Bojo, I believe, got his head kind of screwed on straight, and he will get things done. But the problem of it is, he's got some issues too, and he better start understanding who his real friends are and who there aren't. I mean, I can sit here and make judgments by listening and watching the news because we're being televised what they want us to know and hear anyway. That's your mainstream media. I couldn't understand why Trump didn't go into the government there and get rid of that EO that Obama signed that allowed, which it started back at the Patriot Act, allowed reporters to feed us propaganda. And that's what they're doing, okay? But then when you realize that most of these big mainstream news companies are not owned by individuals, okay? They're giving the face of an individual and saying that Murdoch owns it or this owns it or blah, blah, blah. No, it's a CIA. They incorporated their techniques, their programs, put them in to actually brainwash big chunks of the United States. Once there were certain chunks of the United States brainwashed, then the rest of the people got brainwashed because it was word of mouth. Then when the internet come around, they thought they really had us. Well, and I always like how the enemy thinks they got you because they've got it figured out. That's usually when you lose. When you think you got it figured, that's like people run around hollering they know God, okay? And they're religious and they're Christians and blah this, blah that. When they're the ones that puff out their chest and say that they know God and this, that, and the other, that's usually the people that you need to run from because they don't know God. If they know God, so okay, introduce me to him. Well, they're going to go back through the same steps that the system taught them, okay? That relationship, okay, is not sitting in some church. That relationship is not sitting in a 30,000 person congregation. That relationship is something that's personal between you and God. It's like me and God. Okay? That's a personal relationship. That's why he sent his only begotten son, which, you know, it all depends on how you want to look at it. It was him in flesh here on this earth to experience some things, okay, that was set forth. Some people see it that way, some people don't, okay, because we got to understand, and because God knows all. So why would he have went through all that? Okay. It was the forlong untold story of having a way to escape from the fools, the idiots, the demonics, everything that's unclean or unholy or just not good. Okay. Things that we eat, things that we smoke, things that we wear, the holes we put in our bodies with earrings and other things, tattoos. This flesh, this body is a temple, but the problem of it is this temple, once we die, it's ashes, ashes, dust to dust. Um, it's going to be a way forlong thing for a lot of people. But anyway, we're going to have to engage. Okay? Once this so-called federal government gets taken down to its knees, and it's coming, I just wished it was faster. Man, I wished it was faster. The flood, bam, it wiped out the whole earth. But I kind of understand the percentages, because if Trump would have went in and put foot to ass in the beginning of all this, there would have been, the outcomes would nowhere near be what they will be. The United States would have failed, because there would have been too much chaos, too much stuff going on. Two, by the time you got everybody brought to speed, even with the proof and evidence, most of them would have been turning their backs on you. Okay, so for whatever phase this is in, 2 or 3, I hope it's the final phase myself, but I know it's not, because he's got one big battle. The main gravy train bowl, known as the Federal Reserve and the central banks, being that's where they broker their money, launder their money, anything they bag, steal, borrow, or whatever else, that's where it goes through. That's who hands it out. That's the welfare for the elite to bring in any so-called corrupt money that corrupts them. uh, Forgive me. But there will have to be a time for all this. And like I said, Trump's killing the nest. He's running the roaches out. So, on a local level, and this is going to suck, because I don't think this will ever get fixed, because we have so many people in so many different directions out here. Years ago, when you had groups of people living in and around each other, there was common things, and there was so many believing in the same thing, that you didn't have to sway anybody. When somebody says something that didn't make no common sense, you'd have to have all the mass saying, look, that don't make no sense. Then the individual would have to go forth to, prove himself or herself. Okay? It ain't like that no more. You can say any damn thing and not have no damn proof. And that makes it, was really going to make it hard on getting this, the United States as a whole, every state, locality, local, county, state, it's just going to be hard. And for the ones that are moving forward into trying to find and settle into a state they can agree with, okay, as long as you have a liberal idiot, okay, that has been trained and taught by Common Core and these so-called idiot-ass professors, you don't weed these people out. There needs to be a litmus test for every place to have some kind of common goal with your representative, okay? And if that person don't bear fruit, don't blame somebody else, okay? We elected you as the individual to fix the problem. You can't fix it. Don't be running around lying about it just to get in there so you can make you some extra money. This is what's going to have to be looked at on a really a minute level, okay? The things that's yet to come, we haven't seen anything yet. We haven't seen nothing yet. Do, do. Yeah, there's a song in that somewhere, or I've heard that song before. Um, I just kind of shake my head in awe. I said I ain't gonna go too far into all of this right now. Uh, I hear and see. I understand some of the plan. Oh, I understood the plan in the beginning, but then you see things that wavers from it, or you see pitfalls in it, and you wonder what the hell's going on. I know I do. But the long and short of it is, if he gets our government down to the 15 to 25% that it needs to be at and run at efficiently, we'll all be better off. Okay? Definitely term limits, but there's screw ups in that too. And what I mean is, okay, he done his 4 years. Uh, he was in the process in his last 4 years to do some criminal activity. He couldn't get it handled. Okay, he goes out here and makes sure that the individual that's going to be sitting in his seat feels the same way he does, and he cuts him in on his little deal. That just keeps the corruption still keeps going. There's always a way around things. There's always another open door of opportunity or a window. Okay, it slows it down. They can't spend 30, 40 years building empires off the backs of the poor people, but they can still do it. I just, like I said, man's man. Man's corrupt. Um, we all like to think that we're virtuous and trying to do the right things, but it all depends on who you talk to. We, as a person like me, I mean, I can sit here and say that I'm being as honest and truthful as possible. And that's my honest opinion from my heart for everything that I sit here to talk about. But I can't say that about my neighbor. I can outright say and judge him by his fruit and have an understanding that he does 90% of the time hand me a good apple instead of a bad apple. But that still don't make him 100% like I would see myself, because I'm myself. It's another thing they've done to us as individuals. They separate us, okay, put us in categories, then tell us the groupthink is where we need to be. But, I found it strange. I watched a thing last night on AI. Every one of these so-called geniuses, smart people, inventors, fail to realize one thing about all this AI crap, okay? AI didn't create itself. The human mind did. And it took one individual to do so. This is where they're not getting it. That one individual had enough forethought and creativity, okay, the imagination, okay, that God gave them, okay, as an individual entity, not the groupthink, not the beehive mentality, but as an individual. And they still want to give props to the AI. AI is another tool of Satan. That's just my opinion. It's going to have good and bad in it. Everything's got good and bad in it, no matter what it is. It's all in how it's used. All right. Peace to y'all. It's just, it hit me. Like I said, Trump's yanked up the train, dumped the coal wagon, pulling up the railroad tracks and the infrastructure on these people slowly. He's bearing good fruit. But the outcome of all this is, when it's time for us to engage and have the common sense that it's going to take to put the rest of it back in its rightful place. I'm praying that I'm totally wrong, but I believe most people, because of the years of brainwashing and the years of not caring, the years of separating us and putting us in categories not to care or scared to care, just like I said, the religious and the political thing. Well, that causes division, that causes problems in my family. Well, did you ever ask yourself why? But we can discuss everything else. We can talk about who's sucking who and who's sleeping with who, moral things that we shouldn't even be discussing around the dinner table. We can talk about that shit. But when it comes to talking about God and the political system, we run from it. Has anybody ever asked himself, why? Peace. Love you.